Alright. Couple of quick details. I need y'all to stop and listen. On Friday, I set up the camera as I normally do to record for class so that if people want the resource, they can go online to get it. However, someone moved the camera so that you cannot see what is on the board. Pretty sure I know who it was, pretty sure it was intentional. However, in the future, if you accidentally bump into the camera, make sure you move it back, or just let me know so I can check, because this is a resource, and whereas some of us don't care about our education, we just want to complain because we're not scoring well, I do care about your education. I want to provide the resources for everyone to be successful. So,
I'm not laughing. Do not look at me. I'm not laughing.
So, it's cool if you accidentally bump into the camera, but let me know so that I can move it back to make sure it's corrected. Just like today, major discussion parts that we have, I will record and upload to YouTube. And again, it takes me an extra hour every single day to get this stuff up onto YouTube. I take the time. Kelsey, step outside and collect yourself and come back in the right way. So I put in the effort to try to help you be successful. Please take advantage of that to be successful. And success does not mean making an A. Success means learning the math well. Success means learning the math well. And so we need to work on that and find the different ways that we can be successful. Let's go over the bell ringer. So, the lines to the right are parallel. Explain how you know. While you're over there, Gabe, can you turn off the lights? Okay. So the slopes are the same. The slope is the same because they never intersect. Okay. So a lot of us say parallel here, and I need to address this right here because this is the most common mistake that we saw a lot of students make on the understanding check. Is it true that parallel lines never intersect?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know, have you seen every part of the line to know that those two lines never intersected?
Yes. No.
No. Remember, first off, a line continues for how long?
Ever and ever.
Forever and ever. It's infinitely long. So when I look right here, can you see the entire line?
No.
Can you ever see the entire line?
No.
So how can you know that they never intersect?
They gotta have the same slope.
And if you say anything but that, you are missing the mark. If you tell me, hey, parallel lines never intersect, cool, but you need to tell me how you know they never intersect. Because they have the same slope. And don't forget, fundamentally, what do we mean by slope? That's the what of the line.
The
change.
the Y value.
I heard someone ever say it.
The change.
The Y in it.
So y was x supposed to be, remember, that's the equation of a line, but at its core, the slope is the rate of change, okay? So literally what we're saying is that these two lines change at the same rate.
Yes.
What we are saying is that those two lines change at the same rate. So, how can I verify that? Like looking at this information, because this is kind of what I was looking for. What is the slope? How do we know that they have the same slope?
Because we did the equation.
You calculate it in the equation?
Oh, no. That's what I mean, like, calculated the value of
See how some of us feel somewhat comfortable with that explaining this, but if you cannot fully explain it, you don't fully understand it. That's one of the things I need y'all to understand. Like, until you can completely verbalize it, until you can put it into words, you have not mastered it within your own mind. That's not to say that you can't do it or that you can't do some of it, but that's a telltale sign. If you're sitting there and you say, man, I cannot fully explain why this is true, then you don't fully understand it. And that's not bad, but that's a good self-check to say, ooh, I need to do something else. Ireland, what were you saying? Okay, so y equals mx plus b. That's the what of a line? Slope? Slope something. Slope. Intercept. Form of a line. Because what does m stand for? The slope. What does b stand for? The y-intercept, right? It's called slope-intercept for a reason. It's our slope and y-intercept. So, one thing I do want to point out very clearly is this. I had some students telling me on Friday that the slope for something like this is 2x.
No. It's 2 times.
So the slope, notice is the x the slope? No, what is slope? M. The slope is multiplied by the x, but x is not a part of the slope.
No.
But notice how we can identify the slope, which some of us are already saying this. My slope is 2. Right?
Sorry.
You're good. How can I confirm that in the graph? I heard someone over here say it. Rise divided by run. Okay? Rise divided by run. But now if you have a pair of points or a table, how would we want to write that?
M equals delta y over delta divided by delta x.
There we go. Get on that language. So m, the slope, is equal to change in y divided by change in x. If you have the equation, do you have to go through all that work?
No.
No. But if you have a graph, can you? Yes. Check it. Here's a very clear point. Why do I know this is a point that I might want to use?
Because that's what it connects with the
It's on that intersection, right? That intersection of the grid, the horizontal and vertical. Tell me when to stop when I get to another point.
right there.
Right? Right there, okay? So, rise,
2
2,
over 1.
Divided by.
To the right.
say it again, to the right. When you say up, it's very clearly up, correct?
Yeah.
When you say over, is it clear whether it's right or left? No.
So if
It's important because up, is that a positive or a negative? Positive. If it's down, it's negative. If it's to the right, it is, and if it's to the left, it is negative. That's why you need to say right or left, not just over. Up to the right one.
But if the intersection is on the negative side, so it's not going to be negative.
What?
So on that tree right there, that corner, yeah, that's the negative side of the whatever you call it.
It's the negative x-intercept,
Yeah.
but a negative x-intercept doesn't mean it's a negative slope. That's a positive y-intercept, isn't it? Okay? It's about the rise and then the run. Notice, do I have to pick the very next point? No? Could I go from here, that point, all the way down to here? Will the slope be the same or different? It's the same line, isn't it? So it should be the same. What is my rise? Go all the way down to there.
4. No.
1, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 6 right here. Negative 6, why negative? You're going down, okay? Up and down is important. Left versus right is important. Now I'm going to the,
Right. Left.
how far?
2,
3.
3.
Negative 3.
So negative 3.
So it's gonna be
So now,
This one.
negative 6 divided by negative 3
2.
is still 2, right? And that's what we saw in the equation. We good on how to use a graph or an equation to get our slope. Is that making sense, friend? Was that you that was saying going? I heard going, oh, we good?
It's like you do negative 6 and all that answer by what did you say?
For the other one? Yeah, no. It's just, there's my slope of 2. Because remember, if they're parallel, the slopes are the same. And so, Ren, if you look right here, what is the slope of this line? So, sorry, notice that was for the red line. right? I'm talking about this blue line right here. Remember, here's the equation for that blue line. What is the slope? So do we need to do 2 divided by negative 3? Is that what you said? Okay. Y'all think so? Matthew, say no. You say no? What should we do then? Huh? It's just 2. Notice, Ren, isn't M the symbol for slope? Do you see how that 2 is in the same spot as the M? So my slope is 2. That's it. What is this negative 3 here? We haven't talked about this much, but I know some of us know about it. Remember, it's known as the slope-intercept form of a line. Negative 3 would be my y-intercept. Is that what we see right here?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Right? Similarly over here, what's my y-intercept? Is that what we see up here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay? So, we want to notice, we're just pulling the slope. Can you look at the graph though and find the slope from there as well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? So, how do we know they're parallel? The slope are the same. Specifically, what are the slopes?
Equal?
2.
No.
They're both 2, right?
Yes.
Notice on an understanding check or on a test, you need to explain to me how you know the slopes are 2.
What?
So, in the table, the lines represented are parallel, perpendicular, or neither.
Parallel.
Parallel?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
How are we going to figure it out? What do we need? Can
No.
I just say, by the way, hold on, I need y'all to hear me very clearly on this because I saw this a lot on the understanding check. Do perpendicular lines just intersect?
No.
No, they don't. What else do we need to know about them?
The product is equal negative 1.
Hold on, we need to be careful on that language. But when
Right
they intersect,
angle.
say it again.
A right angle.
Okay, when they intersect at a right angle. So, are those perpendicular lines?
No.
So for every one of us, which this wasn't 1 or 2 or 3, there was a lot of us, who said perpendicular lines intersect, when I asked you to tell me everything you know about perpendicular lines, that is correct, but if they're not intersecting at a right angle, are they perpendicular?
No.
No. You have to indicate that they are intersecting at a right angle. If you do not indicate that, you're missing out on points. But I heard some other people talking about the slopes, right? So they intersect at a right angle, yes, but we know that based on their...
Opposite slopes.
Do they just have opposite slopes?
No.
Opposites and reciprocals. Remember, there's 2 ways to tell perpendicular. One, the slopes are opposites and reciprocals. And Josh, you were saying something about them earlier. What were you saying about perpendicular lines? What are you telling me? They equal -1. Do we need to update that language at all?
They're product.
The product of what? There we go. Can you just say they equal -1?
No.
No, does that tell me you fully understand it?
No.
No. Can you say the product of the slopes is -1? Right? And you can verify that. What is the opposite of 2? -2.
-2.
What's the reciprocal of 2?
0. 2.
Remember,
Negative.
it's 2 divided by 1. So it'd be 1 divided by 2. So you see how those are opposites
Yes.
and reciprocals,
Yes.
right? Those would be perpendicular slopes. Now watch what happens when I multiply them. What's 2 times -1?
2.
-2. And what's 1 times 2?
2.
And what's -2 divided by 2?
1.
When they are opposites and reciprocals, their product is
The same.
Negative
1.
-1. I don't care which of those you use, but you have to remember and use one of those to define the fact that they are perpendicular. So no matter what, whether you're saying they're parallel or perpendicular, you need to look at what idea of the line?
The product. No.
whether parallel or perpendicular, you gotta look at the
And
slopes.
Slope.
You gotta look at that. So you can't just sit here and tell me this is parallel. How am I gonna figure it out?
By their slopes.
Delta, y is delta.
Okay, so m is equal to
Negative, 5. No. Yeah.
what? Y'all need to go back to the equation every time and write down. What did you say it was, Alana?
Delta,
Delta?
delta y divided by delta.
Okay, write that down every time.
Yeah.
What is my delta or my change in y?
1.
1.
1.
Negative, subtract 1. Okay.
No, there's my y, so subtract 1.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And remember, can you pick up a calculator and make sure that it's 2 minus 1?
Yes.
Okay? 2 minus 1 is
1.
1. So that's a negative 1.
Change in x is 5.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
Okay. Check yourself. You have calculators for a reason. Play around with it. If I take negative 3 and I add 5 to it, guess what I'm going to get?
0. What?
Two.
Wait, no,
2. Now I need to check over here. To go from 5 to negative 15.
Negative 20.
Subtract 20.
I am subtracting 20.
Oh.
To go from 10 to 6.
4.
Minus 1.
Subtract 4.
Subtract 4.
Minus 4.
Notice how I write out change in y divided by change in x again.
Yeah.
And what's negative 20 divided by negative 4?
5.
So parallel, perpendicular, or neither.
Neither. Wait,
Perpendicular.
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 They are reciprocals, aren't they? Are they opposites?
Yeah.
That one's negative and that one is
Positive.
positive. So are they opposites?
Yes.
Yes. So those lines are perpendicular.
Yeah.
You can show me that they are opposites and reciprocals. Or you can show the product. Because what is negative 1/5 times 5?
Negative 1.
Negative one.
Negative 1. Because what's the product of the slopes for perpendicular lines?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Okay? So from here, so here's what we're going to do. Everyone within their small groups has their 2 understanding checks. You're going to work within your small groups, I would say about 30, 45 minutes. Talk with each other, figure out how to correct your mistakes. Now, does that mean copy answers down?
Yeah.
No. Because if you're not talking about it, you're not actually learning from it, okay?
Yeah.
Do not copy down each other's work. If you got a 2, or you got a 3, or you got a 3.5, that means you didn't understand it. Talk with the people in your group to see how you might improve it. If no one in your group knows how to improve it, well, then we're going to have a whole class discussion where you can ask those questions. If you got a 4 or 4.5, you understood some stuff about it, right? But you're missing that 5.5 or that 6. Find someone in your group who has a 5.5 or a 6 to figure out how to improve your answers. I would get a separate sheet of paper out where I'd make notes myself, because this is going to help you study for your test tomorrow. What is going to be on that test tomorrow?
I don't know.
All of it. What do you mean by all of it? Perpendicular lines. What else? Parallel lines. What else?
I think that's it.
Nope.
Don't get up. Stay back. You
How
don't wanna
about
hit the camera.
alternate interior angles?
We don't talk about that.
Vertical angles, linear pairs, corresponding angles. No, that's not too far back. That is literally a week ago.
That's the only thing that I might pay.
Yeah, you won't pass it because you give it up on yourself instead of trying to learn. So, hey, ladies, focus. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with these small groups to make sense out of and learn from our mistakes. You have a test tomorrow. I'll be coming around trying to answer questions. We'll have a whole class discussion. I will say first, Brandon, did you give me your computer to download the software on? The calculator software? So I'm going to download it onto Brandon's computer first, and then I will be coming around checking in on you. Work with your group. Talk with your group. If you did well, check in and make sure that everyone in your group understands. If you did poorly, you need to be responsible for your talking and your asking of questions in your growth. Any questions on what we're doing?
Which one?
Both. Work on them both. Let's get to work.
What's that transformation?
You always have to specify your answers. Right?
What is that transformation? Whatever that says.
We probably won't get to that today.
Oh.